Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome, everybody. So we're just going to give a few moments here just for everybody to get in the room before we start the presentation. But welcome, everybody. Wow, that number is climbing fast. Hi, everyone. All right, we're going to give a few more moments here and just let everybody get into the room who wants to join us before we start the presentation. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Hello. I'm just going to give it another minute here and then we'll get started. All right. So I can see that the number of participants is starting to level out. So we'll get started here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is David Gortson. I am an advisor here at the University of Alberta. I'm here to present to you today on Scholarships 101. We have some of my amazing colleagues, Michael, Alan, and Kirsten are here to help answer some of your questions. So if you do have any questions throughout the presentation, you can toss them in the Q&A portion of the webinar here, and they'll be happy to answer your questions as we go through everything. But I hope to cover lots of information myself as well. And then let's get started. So before we really get into the presentation, I just want to acknowledge that the University of Alberta is located on Treaty 6 territory, which is a traditional gathering place for diverse Indigenous peoples, including the Cree, Blackfoot, Métis, Nakota Sioux, Iroquois, Dene, Ojibwe, Saulteaux, Anishinaabe, Inuit, and many others whose histories, languages, and cultures continue to influence our vibrant community. And we are, or this is us. So this is actually Alan and Mel, two of our wonderful colleagues here at Open House. But we have all been working in student supports for a lot of years, and we focus on financial supports and scholarships here in our office. So we're passionate about providing a fun and informative student experience. And we're really excited to get to present to you all today, teach you more about the University of Alberta and the scholarship opportunities that exist here. So hopefully you can submit an application and get some awesome funding to start your journey here with us. Before we really get into everything, I just want to make sure that we are addressing the right students here. So this presentation is going to be really great for students who are coming to us either directly from high school, or maybe you took a gap year from high school and now you are looking at joining the University of Alberta before starting out at a different post-secondary institution. So if you're transferring to us from another post-secondary institution, you'd be considered a transfer student, which we do have scholarships for transfer students, but this presentation isn't specific for that. Additionally, if you're looking to enter full-time studies of a professional program, so something like law, medicine, dentistry, or pharmacy after completing an undergraduate degree already, you'd be considered a professional program student. And again, this unfortunately isn't the right presentation for you. Lastly, if you are looking at an after degree, so you have finished undergraduate program as well, and you're looking at doing another undergraduate degree like nursing or education, or you're looking at entering a master's degree, through the Faculty of Graduate Studies and Research. Those are amazing programs, and that's we definitely have scholarship opportunities there, but this presentation isn't for that, unfortunately. So just to reiterate, this presentation is for students who are coming to us from high school before entering any kind of post-secondary studies whatsoever. Um, and these are the scholarship opportunities that are going to be relevant to you. So if you are looking at transferring to us or entering a professional program, an after degree program, or a graduate program, we do have scholarship opportunities, but they won't be covered in this presentation. So I hope that that helps before we dive into everything, because we're going to dive in and there's a lot of great information that we're looking to share here. So before we get started, this is actually the building that we work in. So this is the administration building here at the University of Alberta, and this is really the one-stop shop. So if you join us on campus, and we hope that you do, this is where you can go to find out so much information about the University of Alberta that can hopefully be really helpful for you. So this is where you can find us and get help with things like your transcript requests, any forms, any fee inquiries, financial support, which is us, that's me, and we can help with that. This can also be where you go to get help with registration or advising. So we like to at least let you know that when you are on campus, we are here. We're here to help you. This is the building that we're in. So please come stop by if you ever need help whatsoever, and we hope to see you there. So we're here to help. And although we'll spend most of the time talking about scholarships, we encourage students to take the time to think about how you're going to fund your education, whether that be through scholarships or other avenues. It's really important for you to research your costs, and we do have a thing that will help you out with that. So it's called the University of Alberta Cost Calculator. If you just toss that into a quick Google search, you'll be able to find out a lot of information about what tuition, books and supplies, living in residence, or other opportunities might cost. So when you're thinking about your post-secondary journey, it's a really great idea for you to start thinking about everything that you want to do, so that you can get a really good idea of what everything is going to cost. And we will get into the more specifics of what international tuition can cost here in a moment. But please just make sure that you're thinking ahead and avoiding assuming that like things are just going to fall into place or not, that you don't need to know about dates or deadlines. We always want to make sure that students are proactive rather than being reactive to financial situations and emergencies. So please make sure that if you are looking at attending post-secondary institution, you have a really good conversation with anybody who could be a supporter of yours, so that you know what types of financial supports you have available to you so that you can get through this journey without incurring like tons of debt or anything like that. So we do have guaranteed tuition for international students, and this is a first year estimate, and we'll get more specific into what those programs can be. But a degree is likely one of the most valuable investments that you'll make. And our graduates use their knowledge and experiences to start a future. They get careers and advance them. They start businesses, teach, heal, and make life-changing discoveries. The cost of a degree may be significant, but we're confident that you'll find our tuition costs comparable to other top universities in Canada, and the financial resources available that we'll talk about can help offset this cost. So whether you need financial assistance for the start of your undergraduate degree, or you find yourself a little short during the school year, we have funding options from you. So from scholarships and awards to emergency funding, we can help you find the right types of support. So please make sure that you're aware of these costs, and that link on the screen, the uab.ca/costcalc, is that tool that I was mentioning earlier that can be really, really helpful to help you find specific information about what types of costs you can expect to find for your specific program and planned living situation at the University of Alberta. So this is the more specific information that I was talking to you about. So we have what's called guaranteed tuition rates here at the University of Alberta, which means that when you apply to us, if you're admitted, you will get to know the cost of your tuition immediately upon receiving admission. So in your admission letter, it will tell you exactly what you can expect to pay for tuition and fees for the first, second, third, and fourth years at the University of Alberta. And that locks it in. So that's what we mean by guaranteed tuition. So you'll know immediately upon receiving admission how much tuition you can expect to pay each year. That's not going to change as long as you remain in the same program for your entire undergraduate degree. So you can really make a strong and robust plan for how you're going to be paying for your university experience, knowing all the costs up front. So we hope that that international tuition guarantee is helpful so that you can make all the plans with all of the information available to you as soon as you are admitted to the University of Alberta. So let's start talking about what I'm an expert in, and that is types of financial support that we have available at the University of Alberta. So in this section, we'll be talking about two types of funding opportunities. The first is admission-based, and the second is application-based opportunities. And we give out awards to students all over the world. So whether you're a scholastic achiever, community leader, passionate advocate, the University of Alberta has scholarships for all types of students. When we're talking about the range of values, we have scholarships that range in value from $2,500 to $120,000. And we'll get into that as well. Some of them are one-time payments. Some of them are funded over 4 years. So you might get a scholarship that pays you every single year at the University of Alberta, which would be amazing. But we review study permit status at the time of scholarship offers. And so if your study permit status changes from study permit to permanent resident here in Canada, then you would no longer be eligible for international scholarships, as those awards are funded by the international tuition differential. So please just note that this is most of the scholarships I'm going to be talking about here are for students who are on a study permit at the University of Alberta. So just another quick note about that. But let's start talking about these programs. So the first program that we offer is admission-based scholarships, and you don't even need to apply for these. So these use your admission average at the time of admission. We don't recalculate if you get a new average after you've been admitted. So these are going to be based on your admission average at the time of your admission offer, and you're evaluated for these scholarships when you apply for admission. Our biggest suite of these is the Gold Standard Scholarship, which go to the top 5% of students in each faculty, and they can be quite competitive, which oftentimes is higher than a 95% average. However, generally, these types of offers come within a few days up to about a week after receiving your offer of admission. So you're constantly evaluated for these. You don't need to ask us to be considered for them. We consider you for these automatically on your admission to the University of Alberta, and we will send you those offers as soon as we can make them to you. These offers are typically made, like I said, within a week of your admission being sent, and you will find the offers on your student portal. But we also email you at your University of Alberta email address. So please make sure that you're checking that so that we can get those offers made to you. So that was the first program. Nice and easy. The second program is a little bit more robust. So we're going to be talking about that in a little bit more depth here because that is the application-based scholarship. So these help us find and award all kinds of students. So all completed applications will be reviewed without personal or admission information by a team of scholarship experts, such as myself and my wonderful colleagues who are helping facilitate this session today. Top applications will be matched with scholarship offers or sent to faculty nominators for additional consideration for faculty-specific awards. So we have one of the biggest scholarships available at the University of Alberta, available through this program, which is the President's International Distinction Scholarship, which is valued at $120,000 paid over 4 years. So you would get $30,000 paid to you each year over 4 years if you were to be awarded this type of scholarship. And we have 25 President's International Distinction Scholarships available for this upcoming year. So that is the biggest scholarship that we have to offer. We're super excited to be able to offer it, and you can submit your application for it through this program. As well, we will be able to evaluate you for the International Leader scholarships here, as well as the May Kwan undergraduate scholarship. So all types of scholarships that are offered by the University of Alberta are accessible through this competition. I like to make a joke that back in the day when I was a student at the University of Alberta, um, when I was coming in, you used to have to apply for every single scholarship individually, but that's no longer something that you have to do. So now there's this one application, this application based scholarship, and we will use that to match you to every single type of funding opportunity available at the University of Alberta. So you only have to fill out one single application, then we will do all the work on our end to make sure that you're matched to every type of funding opportunity that is available to you. We're really excited to be able to offer this to students, and hopefully it makes it a lot easier for all of you when you're looking at funding your journey at the University of Alberta. So it's one single application. You have to apply for admission before applying for scholarships, but you don't have to be admitted. So that's a really important difference. You just have to have your application in the system, but you don't have to be admitted yet in order to apply for scholarships. And super important, this is really, really important. Please make sure that you're paying attention to this specific part. The application deadline for this application-based scholarship is January 11th, 2023 at 11:59 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. The reason that I want to let you know that is because you have to have applied for admission before you can apply to this scholarship competition. So if you haven't applied for admission yet, we really strongly recommend that you apply by today in order to get all of your login credentials sent to you by the January 11th deadline. So when you apply for admission to the University of Alberta, you might not necessarily get all of your login credentials sent to you immediately. It can usually take a few business days for everything to make its way over to you, to be created, to have your login information sent out to you to access the student portals that you need to be able to access the scholarship application. So that's why we actually have the presentation scheduled today, because this is the last chance for students to apply for admission and still be able to access the scholarship application on time. So please make sure that if you are planning on applying for scholarships and financial aid at the University of Alberta, that you apply for admission by today at the very latest so that you can get all of the login information that you need in order to apply for scholarships by that January 11th deadline. So I hope I've made that point really, really clear. But please make sure that you apply for admission today if you want scholarships and financial aid from the University of Alberta. So now we're actually going to dive into what you can expect to find on the application here. And there's a few different sections. So the first is admission information. This is going to be general information for you, same with the before you start in the evaluation criteria. So everything that I'm talking today, when I talk about the types of things that we're looking for on the application, that's all going to be able to be found on the application as well. We're not looking to hide anything from you. We're not looking to have secret criteria. We want everything out in the open. We want to make sure that you're aware of everything that we're going to be looking for from the application. And in that before you start an evaluation criteria section, you will find so much of what I'm talking about here today. So if you missed something, if you're not 100% sure, you'll find it again in those sections. But we'll go over it here as well, just so you can hear me talk about it. And then we'll talk about the summary of activities, personal statement, and the additional information sections, which is where you'll actually be filling in answers. So we'll go over those as well in a little bit here. But first, let's start off with the types of things that we're looking for from you on this application. So there are three main things that we're going to be looking for here. And this is going to be a running theme throughout all of the answers. So please try to keep these in mind when we're talking about all the different sections. So the first is, what's your level of engagement? So we want to know that you're actively involved in societies or clubs, volunteerism, mentorship, public services, and/or athletics, that you devote an extraordinary amount of time and effort to these activities, and that your engagement stands out as a special talent and is evident in the positive impact that you have on your community. So I also hope that by listing all those different types of engagement opportunities at the beginning, you see that we're not looking for one specific type of engagement. We're really looking for any type of engagement that you're involved in. So please don't feel like there's only one type that you can speak to. And make sure that we know all the different types of things that you are engaged in. So that's the first thing that we're looking for, your level of engagement. The second is your leadership. So we want to see that you've held leadership positions with added responsibility over time. In these positions, have you contributed to your community in a meaningful way, and have you developed or have you reflected on your contributions? We want to know that you've developed skills and learned lessons from your leadership positions. So we have engagement, now we have leadership. And the third thing that we're going to be looking for is your substance. So we want to know that your ideas are meaningful and insightful, and that your personal statement is rich, detailed, and filled with excellent descriptions. We want to know that your statement included examples demonstrating exceptional achievements and abilities while maintaining concision, because there is a specific word count. So we'll get into that. So those are the three things that we're going to be looking for in all of the following sections: that engagement, that leadership, and that substance. So please try to keep that in mind when I start to talk about the different things that we're looking for in each of the following sections. So the very first thing that we're going to be looking for from you is that summary of activities. So activities can include mentorship, community service, volunteerism, public services, athletics, academics, and involvement in societies or clubs. And activities should demonstrate engagement, accomplishment, and leadership. Please choose activities that highlight who you are and what you are about. So in this section, we want you to describe your top activities or experiences that you've participated in the last 3 to 5 years, we typically recommend. We do know that the COVID-19 pandemic unfortunately limited a lot of the opportunities that students would have liked to have done. So please know that that's okay. We're super aware of that. And everybody unfortunately was in the same storm as us. So we know that there's a lot of opportunities that students would have liked to have done that COVID unfortunately impacted. So please know that that's okay. If you didn't get to do as much as you wanted to do, that is all right. We still really want to hear about everything that you did over the pandemic and in the last 3 to 5 years. So please choose the top activities that you participated in them. And then we would love to hear about them. When you're in this section as well, please make sure to not use acronyms or shorthand here. Please explain your experience to somebody that knows nothing about it. So don't assume that we're going to know if you use an acronym for an organization that we would necessarily know what that organization is. It's always the best recommendation from us to really try and assume that we know nothing about it so that nothing can get lost. And that we know exactly what your activities are about. Another thing is that we're looking to learn about the impact that this had on you and the community. So choose activities that highlight that impact. In this section, we're really not looking just for a bullet point list of basically like a resume of the organization names and the title that you held. We want to know what you actually did. So please make sure that you are talking about the impact that had on you and the community in this section. And paragraph formatting is required. You'll have 250 words to tell us all about the amazing activities that you did. So that's a summary of activities. Next, we have the personal statement. So the personal statement is your chance to tell us about things that are important to you, your significant achievements, and what you've learned from your experiences and the challenges that you've overcome. Learning more about you will help the University of Alberta understand what makes you exceptional and how you can contribute to the campus community. And this section is a little bit bigger, so you do have 500 words to complete the personal statement. In this section, we want you to take time to reflect on what you've learned, what you've experienced, and how this contributes to your goals. Very similar to the summary of activities, please try to avoid simply providing a list of accomplishments in this section. This section is built to help us get to know you, and we're really interested in your unique voice. So please focus on what you want to say and be true to who you are. Additionally, here, we recognize that you may have overcome significant personal or financial challenges to attend the University of Alberta. And we actually have a section dedicated for that in the next section, and I'll go over that with more details then. But in the additional information tab, There's something called educational goals and life circumstances that you'll be able to answer there. So we encourage you to use the personal statement section to tell us more about who you are and what achievements you have accomplished. And then you can tell us about the financial challenges or significant personal challenges that you've overcome in the following section. So we're really looking to free up the amount of words that you have to tell all about your accomplishments and all the things that you're super proud of in that personal statement. And then lastly, we will be evaluating you on a broad range of criteria, including academic achievements and personal experiences to assess you for scholarships. So please be sure to highlight whatever it is about you that you're most proud of. We really want to hear about that in this section. So please make sure that you know that that's what we're looking for from this. All right, that was a lot of information. We made it through. The last section that you'll be filling out on this application is the additional information and educational goals and life circumstances section. So this will help us match you to awesome awards from our donors. So by answering additional questions, your responses will be used in in addition to what you have already provided. And this is basically going to look like a big checklist of yes or no questions of like whether or not you have participated in a certain activity or been involved with a certain organization. And that's just because we have some really amazing donors at the University of Alberta that have some specific criteria that they're looking for some of our scholarships. So this just helps us outline and know who has been involved in these things that the donors are looking for. But I just want to let everybody know that answering yes or no to these questions doesn't increase or decrease the likelihood of you getting a scholarship. We will evaluate whether or not you're eligible for a scholarship. And then if you are, we'll just use this information to help match you to a specific scholarship. So please don't feel like this is going to be what determines whether or not you get a scholarship. It's not. It just helps us match you to specific scholarship opportunities. And then this is also what I had talked about a little bit earlier, where you can utilize the educational goals and life circumstances section to highlight your personal or financial obstacles. So you can focus on talking all about you and your achievements in the personal statement section. So please make sure that you utilize this section to talk about that if you would like to. It's not mandatory, but if there's context that you would like us to understand in regards to your application, this is going to be the section that you can use for that. So that's it. That's all the sections. So I hope that that was helpful and that you have a really good understanding of the distinction between each section and what we're looking for there. But now we're going to talk a little bit about essay writing essentials because we have some tips, we have some feedback, we have some good ideas about how to make your application stand out and really be distinct when everybody is writing about similar topics. So the first thing is that we want you to show the vision for who you will be and what you will be doing in the future, and what do you uniquely bring to the University of Alberta and your entire life. So we're really interested in your unique voice here. And we really want to know about you specifically. So please don't feel like we're trying to just get one type of student here that we're awarding scholarships to. We're really looking to learn more about you specifically through this application. So presenting who you are and writing about the experiences that have shaped you is really going to be a great way for us to get to know you and achieve that goal that we have with our application. We also want you to showcase your commitment to growth and within things that you have taken on. So providing reasons to believe in you and your future and demonstrating a specific moment of learning, growth, and taking action is a really great way to make your application stand out as well. It also is a great way, or it's a great tip to discuss how a scholarship will make a difference in your life or allow you to impact your community. So it's really amazing for us to see that this scholarship will be making a difference for you. So talking about that is another great way for us to learn more about you and your unique voice and the community that you're coming from. It's also, we like to tell students too, it can be advantageous for you to show that you've researched the specific program or institution that you're applying for. So if you are wanting to attend the University of Alberta for a specific reason, showing us on the application that you've done your research, you know why you want to come to the University of Alberta, and it's because of a specific program or because of a specific opportunity. That's a really great way for us to know that you've done your research and you have really looked into the University of Alberta and know that you're going to make a difference in the community here. Last as well, I want you to remember that when you're writing these essays, just remember that essays usually have a good beginning, middle, and an end. So we like it when you propose what you're going to be talking about, then you talk about it, you discuss it, you give really great examples, and you're constantly thinking about that engagement, the leadership, and the substance that I talked about earlier. And then you wrap it up nicely with a quick little conclusion at the end as well. Another thing that we like to talk about is defining moments. So this is something that we have come up with to try and talk to applicants about how to have a unique voice when you are writing your scholarship opportunity, or when you're writing your scholarship application, sorry. So please try to think about your experiences as a collection of what we call defining moments. So defining moments are when you changed, grew, or made a difference in your community. So we like to think about it in this way. Let's say that you and your best friend did the exact same activities throughout high school or throughout your life. You came from very similar backgrounds. You did very similar activities. You might think that your scholarship applications might look very similar because you've had the same experiences. But even though you and your best friend would have had the same activities, the same things that you were involved in, the same titles, the same clubs, you still would have had different defining moments. And what we mean by that is you would have had different reasons as to why this meant something to you, or why this changed your mind about something, or why all of a sudden you had a moment of clarity where you realize that this is something that was important to you. So everyone's going to have different defining moments as to why something is important, why something has impact, or why something matters. So talking about those defining moments can be a really great way for you to have that distinct voice come through on your application, even if all of the engagement is the same activities and things like that. So talking about those defining moments on your application can be a really, really great way to make sure that everything is specific and action-based and unique to your voice. So focusing on those moments and showing how it made an impact is a really fantastic way to make your application stand out. So that's just one tip that we have that we like to share with everybody. The last tips, we want you to be you. Please be creative and unique and show your passion and tell us about the impact you've made and put things in your own words. We have the defining moments that we talked about. So what's setting you apart from other students applying for scholarships. We want you to write clear, concise, and thoughtful essays as well. So please, this is a really good tip, and we haven't talked about it yet, but please write your essays in a document like Google Docs or Microsoft Word, or just something with spell check, because our application system doesn't actually have spell check or grammar check on there. So it's not built in. If you misspell something, that's okay. But if you misspell something badly enough that we don't understand what it is that you're saying, that might impact our ability to be able to understand what you're talking about in your scholarship application. So we just recommend writing your essays in a third-party document system so that we can fully know what you're talking about, and you can have that spell check and grammar check when you're writing everything out, and then you can copy and paste it over into our application. We also recommend avoiding repetition, acronyms, shorthand, and slang so that every single person who would read your application can fully understand what you're talking about. And we also, please make sure you answer all parts of the questions. I know that sounds silly, but just reading through everything and making sure that you're addressing everything on the application is amazing. And please make sure that you apply by that January 11th deadline. We don't accept any late applications for any reason, unfortunately. The application has been open since October. So please make sure that your application is submitted and that you actually hit that submit button at the very end, so that your application will be considered for scholarships from the University of Alberta. So the reason that we don't accept any late application is because we start assessing your applications right away in January. So January 12th, we already have it all marked in our calendars. That's when we're going to be starting the assessments. So we're going to hit the ground running as soon as that deadline happens. And then scholarship offers will typically start going out in March and go all the way until June. They are offered in rounds for application-based scholarships. So if you are offered an application-based scholarship, you'll have 30 days to either accept or decline that scholarship opportunity. If at the end of the 30 days, you haven't accepted your scholarship opportunity yet, it will be canceled and offered to the next person in line. So we have a limited pool of funding and a limited amount of scholarships available at the University of Alberta, and they are competitive. So we want to make sure that we're offering them to students who are planning to attend. So you will have 30 days to accept it. If you do not want to accept your scholarship opportunity at that time, then we will offer to the next student down the list, and we will keep going until no more funding is available. And we will, so yeah, we have those 30 days to accept or decline these scholarship opportunities. All of you will receive a communication by July as to the final outcome of your application if you were not successful with this, unfortunately. And that's it. You made it through. You heard me talk for so long here and give so much information to you. But if any of that information was lost or you have any questions about it, we are going to have a little bit of a question period here shortly, but I just want to let you know that our website is available here on the screen. And as well, you can always reach out to us directly by emailing awards@ualberta.ca. So if this presentation ends and your question wasn't answered, please know that you can reach out to us there, and we are super happy to answer your question there as well. So that's the end of my presentation, but I think that we might have some questions here that I can hopefully address live for you. So welcome back, John. Hi.
Thank you very much, David, for a very comprehensive presentation, and great to see so many students joining from around the world today, and lots of questions are coming in. So apologies if we can't get to your individual question today, but I will try to summarize the main ones. So I think the best one to start with would be, when is the deadline to apply for the scholarship, and when would you recommend that students submit the scholarship application? I think they should leave it till 10 p.m. on the 11th. When would be a good time to submit?
So the deadline to apply for scholarships is January 11th at 11:59 Mountain Standard Time. And that's a time zone that we're here at in Alberta. So I just want to make sure that students know that that 11:59 is the last opportunity for students to apply. But I recommend submitting your application as soon as you're done with it. So if you finish your application, you're happy with it, you want to submit it, don't wait until the last minute. If your computer errors out or the website is super slow or something happens, you can't accept any late applications. So once you're done with it, once you're happy, please submit it then. Waiting till the last minute is not something I would recommend personally. But great question.
Thank you. So we probably recommend that you submit over this weekend, use this weekend to do a final review, and then probably submit on the Sunday, just to make sure there's no technical problems would be ideal. And when a student submits scholarship application, do they get an acknowledgement? I know there's a number of students who have already applied and submitted their application. Maybe just wondering, will they get an acknowledgement?
I believe that students will get an email I would want to confirm that though. Would one of my colleagues be able to answer that for me just in a small chat here? I don't know if Alan uh will be able to answer that, but I do believe that students will get an email to say that they have submitted their application. Um, just that there is an acknowledgement, but once I hit the submit button, it should say submitted on their end. So it should be all good to go from there.
I just want to add that all confirmation emails will go to the university email address, not the personal email address. And I think that's important to note.
Perfect. Thank you, Kirsten. So yeah, there's a confirmation I was looking for. I was like 99% sure, but that 1% always gets me. So if you are doing anything with the University of Alberta, you will get a University of Alberta specific email address. Usually it's a combination of your first and last names at ualberta.ca. So when you get that email, we definitely recommend logging in and checking it because that's where all the notifications are going to be sent. So yeah, you'll get that acknowledgement to your University of Alberta email account. So please make sure that you're checking that one. Thank you so much, Kirsten.
Thanks so much for the clarification on that. Students are also asking, do we offer any fully funded scholarships? I'm presuming they're talking about covering the full tuition and living costs.
So the largest scholarship that we offer is that President's International Distinction Scholarship, which is $120,000 over 4 years. But that's not necessarily covering like all of tuition, all of housing, all of everything. It's a set amount of funding that you would get each year over those 4 years, and it's very, very close to the entire cost of tuition, but it's not what we consider a full ride scholarship. So it's a set amount of money that we give to you towards your studies, but it's not. We don't have scholarship opportunities where it would cover absolutely everything and it would be waived and taken care of for you.
Thank you so much. And how many application-based scholarships are typically awarded each year?
Ooh, the numbers specifically. So there are 25 of those President's International Distinction Scholarships available. And then the rest of it is typically, it's a set amount of funding. So we don't have a specific number available. There are genuinely thousands of scholarships at the University of Alberta of all varying amounts and things like that. But when we don't have a specific number of scholarships that we are looking to give out, but typically for application-based scholarships, we typically look to award every 1 in 5 is the number that we typically see, or the ratio that we currently see of students that submit an application to students that are offered a scholarship from that competition.
Thanks so much. And another question is, has students asked, can they submit additional documents alongside the scholarship application as they want to showcase their achievements?
So we do have a specific word count for the summary of activities, which is 250 words, and then the personal statement has 500 words. So you can't submit additional documents. You can't submit like a website link or a link to a YouTube video. You aren't able to submit additional things just because we want to have an even playing field for everybody. So we want to make sure that everybody has the exact same criteria that we're evaluating there. So no, unfortunately, you can't submit additional documents. I'm so sorry.
Okay, thank you so much. This is an interesting question. Student is asking, should they use British or American English with their scholarship application?
I don't have a preference personally. As long as we're totally able to understand what you're talking about, we don't have a preference. That's okay. Even earlier when I was talking about spell check and grammar check, there is no, like, we don't evaluate your scholarship application less or give it less points. if there are grammar issues or if there are spelling issues, that doesn't matter to us. We make spelling mistakes and you have grammar mistakes all the time. But the main thing is, are we able to understand what the content of your scholarship application? So as long as we're able to understand the content, I don't have a preference. You're good to go.
Perfect. And we have a few questions coming in for students who don't yet have an admission offer about applying for the scholarship. So my understanding is if you've already applied for admission, you are able to apply for the scholarship. You don't have to have admission by the time of the scholarship application, so the 11th of January. We'd obviously encourage you to get any outstanding documents in now so we can evaluate you for admission. However, if you haven't applied for admission, you really need to be doing that today in order to get the details to apply for the scholarship. It takes a couple of business days for us to be able to issue you with the CCID and password, which you need to log into the scholarship application form. So if you haven't applied yet for admission, you need to do that today, maybe tomorrow at the very latest. I'm just putting the link in the chat for everyone who hasn't applied. If you've already applied and don't have admission yet, please go ahead, apply for the scholarship, get your admission documents in as soon as possible, but not having admission at this stage or not submitting transcripts at this stage doesn't impact your ability to apply for the scholarships. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think you nailed it, John.
Try my best. I try my best. What other questions are coming in which are quite common? Oh, we've had a number of students who have been awarded admission-based scholarships, so based on their academic achievements. So congratulations to them. They're asking what they would need to do in order to accept those admission-based scholarships, and is there a deadline for that?
So another great question. So those admission-based scholarships, so the ones that are based purely on your admission average, those don't have the same rounds to accept that I was talking about earlier. So you can accept them all the way up until September 2023. So there's really no deadline on those ones. And when you do look to accept those, you can go into the email that was sent to you to notify you of that offer. And there will be links to accept it there and instructions on how to accept it there in that letter that was sent out to your University of Alberta email address. But there's no, those ones aren't offered in rounds. So a little less pressure to make your decision with those ones.
And just to add to David, so the deadline to accept for place on most programs at the University of Alberta is the 1st of May. However, as an international student, you do need to obtain a study permit to study here. So we would encourage you to apply for that early, and we will be doing a study permit webinar after the scholarship application deadline, and we'll send an invite to anyone who has applied shortly on that. We want you focusing on your scholarship applications now before you then move on to the study permit process.
One thing at a time, yeah.
Yes. What other questions do we have? Oh, when will the first round of offers be made for the application-based scholarships?
Oh, awesome question. So for application-based scholarships, we hope to make the first rounds of offers in, I want to say, late February / early March. So we aim for right away. All our applications get double reviewed. So we get reviewed twice, and there's thousands submitted. So it does take us a little bit of time to get through them and to score everything, and then send out applications or send out offers to top applications. So we hope to have that done and offers made by late February.
Perfect. Thanks so much. And there's a question from a student: can I have both an admissions-based scholarship and an application-based scholarship?
Yeah, you sure can. That's very exciting. Hopefully, I hope you get both.
That's great. And the student is again about the admission-based scholarships. Is there a 30-day limit, or is that only applying to the application-based?
Yeah, so that's only application-based. Correct.
Okay, and a good question here is, students, I would like your feedback as someone, scholarship expert. How long should students be spending on their scholarship application? Like I always advise students and parents to think how long they would need to work to earn $120,000 and put a fraction of that time into the scholarship application. So it's not really something you should be racing through in 30 minutes, not doing any spell checking on. If someone was going to pay you $120,000, how much work would that take? Do a fraction of that in terms of the scholarship application. But what would your advice be in that area? So.
Yeah, I love how you put that, John. I think that was great. So I would definitely recommend that you realize that the amount of money on the table through this application is quite significant. So spending an appropriate amount of time for you, because everybody's going to be a little bit different. So I don't recommend like a set minimum or maximum there, but I definitely, things that you said, like I wouldn't just do a once over and just like write it and submit it without reviewing it, without having it through that spell check and grammar check, or maybe have a trusted friend or colleague or family member read it through as well, giving it lots of that critical thought, so that you're really looking to best convey that engagement, leadership, and substance that we were talking about earlier is really, really important for us. So making sure that you take an appropriate amount of time for yourself to really give a thorough and thoughtful answer to all the questions that we're talking about. I would say it should at least take you an hour at the very least for $120,000. Yeah.
Perfect. And we had a reception for a number of previous winners a few weeks ago, just before the holidays, and many of them were telling me they spent a long time on those applications, and others didn't take that long. But again, think about how much time your parents or yourself would need to work to get $120,000 and put a fraction of that time in. We've got a number of students who are good athletes and are asking about sports scholarships. Would you be able to speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, actually, I can. I used to work in the faculty of kinesiology, sport, and recreation, so I can speak to it from both sides. So in this application specifically, we would love to hear about the athletics that you've been involved in. But when we're looking at these types of answers, we're always going to be looking, sorry, my nose is running. We're always going to be looking at your engagement, your leadership, and the substance. So no matter what you're talking about, please make sure that you're looking at it and talking about it through that lens. But you can talk about athletics throughout the entire thing, as long as you're talking about that leadership, substance, and engagement. If you are looking to join a varsity team at the University of Alberta, I'd recommend reaching out to the coach directly, as they might have specific scholarship opportunities available through their sports programming, but it's all ran through the coaches specifically. So that if you're looking to play a sport here, you have to reach out to the coach.
Perfect. And we've had a number of students who have applied but are saying they don't have their CCID. For those students, you would have been emailed that within 24 to 48 hours of applying typically. So maybe if you check your spam or your junk folder, it may be in there. If you still can't find it, I would recommend you contact Information Services and Technology. I've just put the link in the chat to everyone, and they would be able to help you with obtaining your CCID. That's only if you've applied and are paid the $125 application fee, and it's been more than 1 or 2 days. So contact them if you haven't applied. You'll only get your CCID within 1 or 2 business days after applying. But if you've applied recently or in the past and you don't have your CCID, please do reach out to IST and they should be able to help you with that. And I'm just going to put one more link in as well. So this is the actual scholarship application form, which is where you would be required to enter your CCID and passwords. So if you've applied for admission, you paid the $125 application fee, great. You should be able to log into that now, unless it was a day or two ago. If you're still interested in applying for the application-based scholarships and you haven't yet applied for admission, you need to do that today, tomorrow at the very latest, and you should have your CCID early. One other question on this scholarship application: when someone submitted a scholarship application, are they able to go back in and make any edits to the application?
So once it's submitted, it's submitted. We might be able to reopen it if it's really urgent. And you can request that by submitting an email to that awards@ualberta.ca. But as we're getting to this deadline, I really, really recommend that once it's submitted, you're happy with it, it's good to go.
Perfect. So yes, take your time on the application, but don't leave it to the 11th to hit that submit button. Get it in a little bit before then. I have a good question here. In terms of the personal statement, does that need to be addressed to anyone, like in a letter format with yours sincerely and dear selection committee, or can you just write it not addressed to anyone and not signed? I know there's a word limit, so words are precious in terms of that application. So
yeah, no, so we require essay formatting when we're talking about any of our answers, and that's just something that we put out there so that students know that we're not looking for like a bullet point list of like really concise information there, but it's free format. So if you want to write a poem, if you want to write it as a letter, if you want to write us a song, like whatever you prefer. The personal statement is meant for you to get your unique voice across to us, but essay is typically what we see most often. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And there's a few students asking if the application fee for admission can be waived, and unfortunately it can't be. We do require the $125, and just with the President's International Distinction Scholarship, it is $30,000 per year, so it does cover the vast majority of tuition for most of our programs, and in fact of tuition for a few of them. But your living costs will still be your responsibility as well. So the application fee can't be waived, and it's not a fully funded scholarship, but it's designed to cover a significant amount of your academic costs, and also recognize your outstanding achievements to obtain an award of $120,000. I think that really covers most of the general questions. My apologies if we weren't able to get to your individual. Oh, this is a good question, actually. I'll just go on this one. So, student asks, how many activities should they include in the 250 words? What would your advice be? Should they list multiple activities, like listing them all off, or would it be better to focus on one or two and doing a good detailed description as much as you can in 250 words of those activities?
So I recommend talking about as many as you can while still giving us the impact that it had on you and the community, if that makes sense. So we don't just want like lists of the organizations and the titles that you have with them. We really want to know about the impact that you had, or that the activity had on you, or that you had on the community that the activity was through. So I would say as many as you can while still like thoroughly discussing that impact.
Perfect. So thanks so much.
I would say no more than 5, for sure. We say 3 to 5 probably.
Thanks so much. That was a good question to end on. So if you haven't applied for admission already, please do so today. If you're working on your scholarship application, spend a bit of time over it on the next few days, probably around the weekend, and best of luck with your application. I want to thank everyone from around the world for joining us today, for all the great questions, and David and other colleagues in the scholarship team for giving such thorough answers and furiously answering the questions in chat. This will conclude today's webinar. We'll be moving on after this onto study permits, so look out for an invitation if you've applied for admission to a study permit webinar, which will happen in mid-January, but best of luck with your scholarship applications for now. Thanks everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to wherever you are in the world, and best of luck with your application.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.